Hello and welcome to Mr. Dark Time. Professional race car driving is a deadly sport. Anybody who engages in the sport of auto racing knows that they are risking their lives every time, and it doesn't matter how experienced or how talented a driver may be, even some of the best wheelmen of all time have lost their lives on the track.
Spots, you're on board with him, and one thing he was worried about going into this race was all that dirty air created by 34 cars.
But right now, the position he's in, he actually has a small advantage because everybody else is opening the air up in front of him, and he... Oh, here we go.
Trouble, contact, and a huge crash. Up in turn number 2. Oh, multiple cars involved. Oh, my. It looks like Dan Weldon may be involved in it.
And Eddie, you and I spoke about this morning on the drive-in. Just this amount of cars, the speed, just the chance for what they call the big one.
And what happens in conditions like that, even if you're 300 yards behind that, you cannot stop these cars. The only option you have is to try to avoid it, and it was impossible to avoid anything there.
And you saw Will Power, his car involved as well. My. What a mess. That's Townsend Bell that was, I think his car was up on its side there, the 22.
15 there of Jay Howard. An additional entry, is that the 19 to 15? I can't see with the sun shining there. Some of the car is broken. They're showing that as Alex Lloyd, the 19.
It's the 15 of Jay Howard.
Yes.
One of the cars actually flew for about 200 yards in the air.
Red flag is out here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway on lap number 12. And from high above, you can see the carnage.
The British-born Dan Weldon is one of Indy's top drivers, having won the Indianapolis 500 twice. Equally important, he was one of the best-liked guys on the circuit, and more importantly, a loving husband and father. Tragically, Dan was killed at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway on October 16, 2011, when his vehicle was involved in a 15-car pileup on the 11th lap of the race. His car flew approximately 325 feet into the catch fence, with the cockpit hitting him first and his head hitting a pole lining the track. The carnage and ensuing debris led officials to throw a red flag to stop the race. Dan Weldon was 33.
Board with Will and give you another perspective of exactly what happened in this 15-car melee.
And Eddie, as we know, when you're driving along at these speeds, you're going the length of a football field in less than a second. So if something happens in front of you, you can never have enough reaction time.
It's impossible. You have no time to do anything. What happens, maybe it's just a small miscommunication between two drivers. Somebody spins and you have 20 cars that arrive on the scene.
Oui, nous sommes ici dans les premières minutes de la deuxième séance d'essai chronométrée. Et Gilles Villeneuve, c'est bien entendu la Ferrari rouge numéro 27. Et il rattrape ici Jochen Mass. Il a heurté l'arrière et on voit voilà la Ferrari qui vient de se disloquer après avoir heurté la marche de Jochen Mass. Et vous le voyez, Gilles Villeneuve n'est plus à l'intérieur de la voiture. Il a été éjecté, il est sur la droite de la piste. Voici Gilles Villeneuve.
For Canadians, former Formula One racer Gilles Villeneuve is a legend and one of the best athletes the country has ever produced. Though he never captured a points championship, he finished in second place in 1979 and won 6 Grand Prix races. Yet sadly, the racing star died on May 8, 1982, when attempting to qualify for the Belgian Grand Prix. His car crashed at 140 miles per hour while he was trying to make a pit stop.
Couple of corporate teammates, Waltrip and Earnhardt Jr. Then the man who owns those cars, Dale Earnhardt.
This crowd is on their feet. They want to see the finish of the Daytona 500. They'll look at the white flag. They go back to turn one for the final time.
We'll soon find out. Michael Waltrip doing everything he can to hold on to the race lead. He has to go low to block Dale Earnhardt Jr. He keeps it pinned down low. Earnhardt Jr. still riding in second. They're all chasing Michael Waltrip on the super stretch.
Does Earnhardt Jr. have anything left? He's going to try. Waltrip to the bottom, trying to throw on the block. Successful so far. 3 wide behind, halfway down the back straightaway. Waltrip with maybe a 1 car length lead over Earnhardt Jr. to 3.
Michael Waltrip showing the muscle. Everything stacks up from third on back. Dale Earnhardt gets turned sideways. He'll take Schrader. Earnhardt and Schrader are in the wall. Waltrip leads off 4.
Coming down to the finish, though, it is Michael Waltrip trying to hold off Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 463 tries. Finally, Michael Waltrip is going to win a NASCAR Winston Cup race, winning the Daytona 500, the biggest of them all. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is second, Rusty Wallace third, Ricky Rudd fourth, and fifth is Bill Elliott. Let's go to Eli Gold.
Sitting directly in front of me, the Ken Schrader car and the Dale Earnhardt car. Earnhardt was on the low side of the racetrack. Someone turned his car. He went shooting up the banking directly into the route that Kenny Schrader was occupying. Schrader now very quickly calling over for the medical crews to come to attend and check on Dale Earnhardt. So Schrader, climbing from his car, very quickly ran to the number 3, peers into the car, and calls to the medical crews who are quickly coming to the scene.
Dale Earnhardt took a really hard shot into that outside wall of the final lap here at Daytona. We'll update you further there in just a moment.
Well, in hot pursuit of Dale Earnhardt Jr., who is going out toward turn 4 to see if he can find out about his father. He's looking for the care center. Dale Jr., the care center's this way. They don't know anything yet about your father. Tell us about those last few laps.
Well, I was trying to stay behind Michael and see what happened at the end. But they had a big wreck back here, so they didn't have really no help. So Michael won his first race.
Did you have any chance of getting around him, or did you have to have some help?
I was just hanging on. He had a good car. We were just hanging on. Hell of a race for Michael. I'm proud of him. I'm glad for DEI for finished 1 and 2 today. It's pretty cool.
That's Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's going to the care center. He's trying to check on his father. He comes home second.
Many Americans consider Dale Earnhardt the finest NASCAR racer of all time. Known by his nickname, the Intimidator, the death of Dale Earnhardt ranks as one of the most infamous and tragic auto racing fatalities ever. Sadly, he died on February 18, 2001, during the very last lap of the Daytona 500. Gordon Smiley, a young driver from Texas, died during the 1982 Indianapolis 500 qualifications as he attempted to break a record speed. He crashed into a wall head-on at 185 miles per hour or 297 kilometers per hour. The doctor on site at the time witnessed the crash and wrote about what he saw. While rushing to the car, I noticed small splotches of an unusual gray substance marking a trail on the asphalt leading up to the driver. When I reached the car, I was shocked to see that Smiley's helmet was gone along with the top of his skull. He had essentially been scalped by the debris fence. The material on the racetrack was most of his brain. His helmet, due to massive force, was literally pulled from his head on impact. I rode to the care center with his body, and on the way I performed a cursory examination and realized that nearly every bone in his body was shattered. He had a gaping wound in his side that looked as if he had been attacked by a large shark. I had never seen such trauma.